Good evening, everyone, and it's an honor to be here moderating the panel with two distinguished panelists, Glenn and Jeff, who have done incredible work in the space. Just wanted to highlight the importance of mobile to the global industries as well as our ecosystem and how much progress we have made over the past few years. And so if you just look at the number of mobile subscriptions today, over 6 billion and counting, getting to over 7 billion next year. So next year we'll have more connections than humans on the planet, and accelerating every year after that. And the connected and emerging devices are the reason why that might be. So mobile subscription more than people having access to electricity or safe drinking water. This is pretty remarkable. And if you look at the mobile budget of a given household in the US, you'll see wireless now dominates household budgets completely. Landline going down, cable kind of flat, ISPs kind of flat, but wireless budget is increasing steadily and over 50%. Another important trend is that for the first time in the last 30 years, the technology is being led by data. It used to be voice, messaging, combination of data and voice, but now for the first time, a standard is actually being led by data, and that has enormous implications on the ecosystem and the value chains. Tremendous growth story globally. For the first time, we exceeded $1 trillion in revenue in mobile services, and close to 1.4 trillion as an industry. And if you look at the breakout, you will see that the data services or the top services are starting to have a bigger impact on the overall set of revenues. And the US revenues, even though we count for only 6% of the global subs, the revenue is much, much higher. So 21% of the service revenues, close to 26% of the data revenues, and CapEx and OpEx as well. And so US plays a significantly important role in the global wireless industry. And in terms of relative to other digital industries, last year the mobile revenues in the US were more than the entire e-commerce revenues for the US market. And if you combine revenues from the industries such as cable, ISP, Hollywood, music, you'll see that the combined revenues of those industries is less than the revenues being generated by mobiles. So clearly, it's a tremendous growth segment for the overall economy. It's the fastest industry to reach $1 trillion as well. And it's not just the top 4 or 5 operators globally. It's a number of operators are benefiting from the data surge. So close to 50 operators now have $1 billion or more in data revenues. In terms of the leaders, clearly it's hard to match because the population, China and India, in number of subs. But if you look at by revenue, either total revenue or data revenue, US leads the charge and is way ahead of other countries. Similarly, if you look at the telecom groups, Verizon, AT&T dominate in terms of data revenue or non-messaging data revenue. Another important trend, and that kind of lays very well into what Glenn and Jeff will talk about, is the shift in computing. It's changing from desktop, PCs, netbooks to smartphones, tablets, and connected devices. And we already see that both in number of units as well as in total revenue, the non-traditional computing devices are becoming much more dominant. And so you already see the iPads of the world making a significant impact both in revenue and the units if you look at the personal computing that way. A number of different types of connected devices coming into the market. They range anywhere from very small smart energy sensors to security sensors, stuff that AT&T has launched with Digital Life and so on and so forth. And in terms of segment growth, if you compare the various segments in the US market, connected, prepaid, wholesale, and postpaid, connected devices has the highest growth year over year relative to other segments. Clearly, it's still small in terms of overall revenue, but the growth is the highest. And that's all I had.